positive thoughts, then my life should be affected. And this is why positive thinking has a real bad rap in the public. Having a positive thought does not in any way necessitate that those positive thoughts actually manifest themselves. There's a piece that was left out, and if you don't understand the piece, then you're shouting into the wind with your positive thoughts. Nothing's going to happen. There's the conscious mind and what is called the subconscious mind. On a day-by-day basis, the subconscious mind runs our biology about 95 to 99% of the time. So while you're having all these wonderful thoughts, that's not the conscious mind's not running the show. It's a subconscious mind. The programs that we got, that's the source of the problems that most of us face. And these programs could limit our abilities and take away our powers, which essentially they do. Positive thinking is a creative thought that comes from the conscious mind. Okay, so I sit here and I'm going to have all these wonderful thoughts. I'm going to close my eyes and visualize all these wonderful things. Now stop and go back to the mechanical character of it. I'm having these thoughts with a little tiny processor called the conscious mind, and I'm competing with the programs that are in the subconscious mind. So if I have a thought for being healthy or being in a good relationship, and I'm doing positive thinking, and at the same time, I have acquired programs in my development that said, you're not as healthy as you think you are, and you're not that good a person to have those kind of relationships. Then look, I'm now pitting my positive thoughts against my programs, and they're opposite. But here comes the other part. While I can try to maintain positive thoughts in my life using my conscious mind, this conscious mind only operates less than 5% of the day. That says 95% or more of the day, I'm operating from the other belief system. Do the math. How powerful are positive thoughts? And the answer is, unless the subconscious has the same programs and agreement as the conscious mind, power of positive thinking will not work. It will not work because you're competing against a much more powerful processor. We do not see the subconscious when it plays. The subconscious has programs in it that we primarily got from other people in our development. And the significance about that is that if we are operating from this subconscious mind and not seeing it, then we're also not seeing that we're playing programs that may not be in any way supporting who we are and what we want. The only problem was, it was your own subconscious programming that led to the life that you have. And that if you can understand that, and then try to work with it, then you can change your subconscious program.
Hello there and welcome, it's Bob Proctor here. I'm going to take you back in time and space by using this flip chart here. I know we've got all kinds of technical razzle-dazzle today, but I want to communicate this idea to you. First, let me ask you a couple of questions. Have you ever wondered why you look like your relatives? Have you ever wondered why you have many of the habits or idiosyncrasies that mom and dad or grandma has? These are good questions. Have you ever wondered why you keep getting the same results over and over and over again? Have you ever asked yourself why individuals who have phenomenal education, they have degrees coming off the end of the business card, are not doing very well, while others who maybe never saw the inside of a school earning millions of dollars and building giant organizations and doing all kinds of good all over the world? Have you ever asked yourself these questions? I did. In fact, I have spent the past 55 years asking nothing but those questions. And you know something? Seeking you'll find is good advice. If you're looking for it, you're going to find it. I'm going to explain why all these things happen. I'm going to explain paradigms in such a way that a child could understand it, but I'm not going to insult your intelligence. Now let's think for a moment. Our mind controls everything. Dr. J.B. Ryan said the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. Now I have had people say to me, wait a minute, God is the greatest power. Wait a minute, God is the greatest power. The mind is the greatest power in all of creation. God being the creator, mind is the creation. Now let this here represent your subconscious mind. And this represent your body. Do you know your subconscious mind is programmed with something called a paradigm? Do Do you know what a paradigm is? Paradigm is a multitude of habits. Now, a habit is nothing but an idea that is fixed here in the subconscious mind that you act on without any conscious thought. And it's our actions that produce our results. If we want to get really technical, it's the action causes a reaction, and the action-reaction alters the conditions, circumstance, and environment in our life. Now, we are programmed genetically. That's why we look like our relatives. But then after birth, we're programmed with our outside world. If you were born, let's say, in New Jersey, to an English-speaking Roman Catholic family, but you were taken to China and placed in the suburbs in a home that maybe knows nothing about English, they might be Buddhist, they might not have any religion. Do you know that you would grow up fluent in Chinese and have absolutely no knowledge of the English language? You see, whatever goes in from the outside world when we're children becomes programming. We're programmed genetically, and then we're programmed environmentally. Well, at a certain age, a psychic barrier comes up here, and we develop something that's called a conscious mind. And the conscious mind has hooked up to it sensory factors. You can see here, smell, taste, touch. And here we have higher faculties. We have something called intellectual factors. We have perception, intuition, the will, reason, imagination, all these marvelous tools here. Now there's a power flows into our conscious mind, and we have the ability to think anything we want to think. Do you know what we're going to think? We're going to think thoughts that are in harmony with the paradigm. Because play with this. The paradigm controls the vibration that your body is in. And make no mistake about it, your body is in a vibration. Vibration is the law of the universe. The law of vibration decrees everything moves, nothing rests. This physical instrument we're living in is in a very high speed of vibration. If you looked at it through a microscope, you'd see it dancing right before your eyes. In fact, if you put your body in a completely dark room in front of an infrared television camera, you'd see yourself as a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. Semyon Kurlin, way back in 1934, the Russian photographer, he perfected a form of photography where you can photograph mass, the body, and you will see the ray of energy coming from the body. See, there's a power flows into you, and it flows to and through you. And when it comes in, it has no form. Now, you can build negative ideas, or you can build positive ideas. We build ideas that are in harmony with the paradigm. Do you know why? If the paradigm is built with X-type energy, you're going to think X-type thoughts. If you have been raised with a paradigm where lack and limitation is common, it's just the way it is, you'll never become wealthy. If that is the thinking, oh, I know intellectually we know we can become wealthy, but the paradigm says no. You will probably take this power that flows into your conscious mind, that you could make anything out of it you want, and you'll make ideas that are in harmony with the paradigm, because it's the ideas that you impress upon the subconscious that controls the vibration. And if you start to impress why ideas, you're going to move into a very uncomfortable vibration. What would be a why idea? A why idea would be quit your job, sell your house, take the money, and invest it in a business so you can be your own boss. That's a why idea. That'll scare the daylights out of most people. Why? Because it's not in harmony with the paradigm. Now, your paradigm is controlling your results. You can have people that have all kinds of degrees here. Intellectually, they're brilliant, but the results don't match. You'll find other people, no formal education, no business experience, their results, they're earning millions of dollars. Why? It's the paradigm. Now, what you want to do is learn how to change the paradigm, and we've got a program. It's a 13-month program, and it's directed at that, changing the paradigm. And when you change the paradigm, you change your entire life. Think about that for a while. I know what I'm talking about. I've been studying this for 55 years. I've taught this to psychiatrists, psychologists, behavioral scientists all over the world. In fact, I've taught it in over 100 different countries. And it works like magic every time. Do you know why? The whole universe operates by law, and so do we. This is Bob Proctor, and thank you.
And the fourth premise, any dominating desire, plan, or purpose which is backed by that state of mind known as faith is taken over by the subconscious section of the mind and acted upon immediately. That state of mind, ladies and gentlemen, is the only state of mind that will produce immediate action through the subconscious mind. And when I say faith, I don't have reference to wishing or hoping or mildly believing. I don't have reference to any of those things. I have reference to a state of mind wherein whatever it is that you're going to do, you can see it already in a finished act before you even begin it. Now that's pretty positive, isn't it? I can truthfully tell you that not ever in my whole life have I undertaken to do anything that I didn't do it unless I got careless in my desire to do it and backed away from it or changed my mind or my mental attitude. I have never failed to do anything that I made up my mind to do, and I'll tell you that you can put yourself in a frame of mind where you can do whatever you make up your mind to do unless you weaken as you go along, as so many people do. Now let's get back to this fourth premise again. Any dominating desire, plan, or purpose which is backed by that state of mind known as faith is taken over by the subconscious section of the mind and acted upon immediately. I don't know for sure, ladies and gentlemen, but I suspect that there's a relatively small number of people in the world at any one time who understand the principle of faith, who really understand it and know how to apply it. And even if you do understand it, if you don't back it up with action and make it a part of your habit life, you might just as well not understand it.
So I was writing my 2007 release, The Divine Matrix. We touched on so many points that could have been a book unto themselves, each point. And I didn't want the information to get buried in a footnote or a sideline in the Divine Matrix. And this book, The Spontaneous Healing of Belief, is one of those points. Almost universally, ancient texts and traditions say to us that there is a power lives within each of us, that we are born into this world with the ability to somehow heal our own bodies, influence the world around us, to bring peace to our families, to our communities, and ultimately between nations. On the one hand, and on the other hand, the great spiritual mystery is how we find that power. How do we implement it in our lives? Well, what we know is that a growing number of mainstream scientists are now beginning to suggest that our entire universe works very similar to the way a computer works, except our universe now is believed to be based in consciousness. Consciousness is the language that allows this universe of ours to work the way it works. And just as every computer language has a program that allows it to get things done, our consciousness computer of the universe appears to work precisely the same way, and it's the power of our belief. The power of belief that literally rearranges the stuff, the atoms and the molecules that our world is made of to create the conditions of our romances, of our abundance, of our healing, of our peace, the success of our careers. So as different as these things all appear from one another, they're all linked through this language, this inner power of belief. I was trained as a scientist, and my training requires me to see proof when something that sounds almost too good to be true is stated as a fact. And for me, when I began to hear that simply by changing the way we feel could somehow not only change what happens inside of our bodies, but literally rearrange the atoms of the stuff our physical world is made of, I said, I'd like to believe that, and I'd like to see some proof. And lo and behold, our own scientists now have found this proof. They know it's there. There is no disagreement as to the fact that we interact with our physical world. The question, the controversy, is how much, to what degree. What we know is this, is everything is made of energy. You all have heard that before. I've heard that. We've all heard that for years. But we're only beginning to understand now is that it is our hearts, the human heart, that creates fields of energy, the same energy that everything else is made of. And the fields that are created inside of our hearts extend far beyond our bodies into the world around us. So literally, this is not a metaphor and this is not wishful thinking, but literally when we change the way we feel and what we believe about our feelings and our hearts, what we're doing is we're changing the electrical and the magnetic fields that touch the world around us and rearrange the stuff our universe is made of. And that is the secret of the ancients. This is the great spiritual mystery that yogis lived in caves for centuries to understand. And we don't have to do that. We don't have to give up everything that we love and seclude ourselves in a monastery or a cave to bring this very powerful wisdom to bear upon our lives. Because it's very plain, it's very easy, it's very simple. In easy to understand science, through many true life stories, case histories, I've found this is the best way to share this power in our lives, because we've all had experiences with this power before. Maybe we're only beginning to recognize what it is that it really says to us. If the universe in fact works like a massive, unimaginably huge consciousness computer, and if belief really is the program that allows our consciousness computer to do what it does, to create the conditions and the situations and the circumstances in the world around us, and the healing in our bodies, the abundance in our lives, and all the things that are important to us every day. If that's true, then as with any computer, if you know the code, you know what the limits are of your capabilities. If we understand the code of human belief, suddenly we begin to understand that we are no longer bound. We're not limited by the laws of physics, at least as we know those laws today. We can transcend the laws that say we're separate from everything around us. We can transcend the laws that say that time and space are barriers between us and our relationships and the people that we love and hold dear. We can transcend the laws of aging. We can transcend the laws that tell us that we are limited in this world. And when we begin to do that, everything changes. When our civilization really begins to understand, when they really get what it is that our own science now is describing in the modern language that we understand, the scientific language, and how this dovetails with our most cherished and spiritual traditions, everything changes. Because it says we are no longer limited by anything other than the beliefs, the false limits of the beliefs of our conditioning from our past, our culture, our friends, our family, our subconscious beliefs. When we really begin to understand how these work and what they mean in our lives, everything changes, and that is when each of us has the opportunity to shatter our personal paradigm of false limits.
This audio presentation of Neville Goddard's Feeling is the Secret is brought to you by audioenlightenment.com. Copyright 2011, all rights reserved. Forward. This book is concerned with the art of realizing your desire. It gives you an account of the mechanism used in the production of the visible world. It is a small book, but not slight. There is a treasure in it, a clearly defined road to the realization of your dreams. Were it possible to carry conviction to another by means of reasoned argument and detailed instances, this book would be many times its size. It is seldom possible, however, to do so by means of written statements or arguments, since to the suspended judgment it always seems plausible to say that the author was dishonest or deluded, and therefore his evidence was tainted. Consequently, I have purposely omitted all arguments and testimonials, and simply challenge the open-minded reader to practice the law of consciousness as revealed in this book. Personal success will prove far more convincing than all the books that could be written on the subject. Neville. Chapter 1. The Law and its Operation. The world and all within it is man's conditioned conscious objectified. Consciousness is the cause as well as the substance of the entire world. So it is to consciousness that we must turn if we would discover the secret of creation. Knowledge of the law of consciousness and the method of operating this law will enable you to accomplish all your desire in life. Armed with a working knowledge of this law, you can build and maintain an ideal world. Consciousness is the one and only reality, not figuratively, but actually. This reality may, for the sake of clarity, be likened unto a stream which is divided into two parts, the conscious and the subconscious. In order to intelligently operate the law of consciousness, it is necessary to understand the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious. The conscious is personal and selective. The subconscious is impersonal and non-selective. The conscious is the realm of effect. The subconscious is the realm of cause. These two aspects are the male and female divisions of consciousness. The conscious is male. The subconscious is female. The conscious generates ideas and impresses these ideas on the subconscious. The subconscious receives idea and gives form and expression to them. By this law, first conceiving an idea and then impressing the idea conceived in the subconscious, all things evolve out of consciousness, and without this sequence, there is not anything made that is made. The conscious impresses the subconscious, while the subconscious expresses all that is impressed upon it. The subconscious does not originate ideas, but accepts as true those which the conscious mind feels to be true, and in a way known only to itself, objectifies the accepted ideas. Therefore, through his power to imagine and feel and his freedom to choose the idea he will entertain, man has control over creation. Control of the subconscious is accomplished through control of your ideas and feelings. The mechanism of creation is hidden in the very depth of the subconscious, the female aspect or womb of creation. The subconscious transcends reason as an independent of induction. It contemplates a feeling as a fact existing within itself, and on this assumption proceeds to give expression to it. The creative process begins with an idea, and its cycle runs its course as a feeling, and ends in a volition to act. Ideas are impressed on the subconscious through the medium of feeling. No idea can be impressed on the subconscious until it is felt, but once felt, be it good, bad, or indifferent, it must be expressed. Feeling is the one and only medium through which ideas are conveyed to the subconscious. Therefore, the man who does not control his feelings may easily impress the subconscious with undesirable states. By control of feeling is not meant restraint or suppression of your feelings, but rather the disciplining of self to imagine and entertain only such feeling as contributes to your happiness. Control of your feeling is all important to a full and happy life. Never entertain an undesirable feeling, nor think sympathetically about wrong in any shape or form. Do not dwell on the imperfections of yourself or others. To do so is to impress the subconscious with these limitations. What you do not want done unto you, do not feel that it is done unto you or another. This is the whole law of full and happy life. Everything else is commentary. Every feeling makes a subconscious impression, and unless it is counteracted by a more powerful feeling of an opposite nature, must be expressed. The dominant of two feelings is the one expressed. I am healthy is a stronger feeling than I will be healthy. To feel I will be is to confess I am not. I am is stronger than I am not. What you feel you are always dominates what you feel you would like to be. Therefore, to be realized, the wish must be felt as a state that is, rather than a state that is not. Sensation precedes manifestation and is the foundation upon which all manifestation rests. Be careful of your moods and feelings, for there is an unbroken connection between your feelings and your visible world. Your body is an emotional filter and bears the unmistakable marks of your prevalent emotions. Emotional disturbances, especially suppressed emotions, are the cause of all diseases. To feel intensely about a wrong without voicing or expressing that feeling is the beginning of disease. Disease in both body and environment. Do not entertain the feeling of regret or failure for frustration or detachment from your objective results in disease. Think feelingly only of the state you desire to realize. Feeling the reality of the state sought and living and acting on that conviction is the way of all seeming miracles. All changes of expression are brought about through a change of feeling. A change of feeling is a change of destiny. All creation occurs in the domain of the subconscious. What you must acquire, then, is a reflective control of the operation of the subconscious, that is, control of your ideas and feelings. Chance or accident is not responsible for the things that happen to you, nor is predestined fate the author of your fortune or misfortune. Your subconscious impressions determine the condition of your world. The subconscious is not selective, it is impersonal and no respecter of persons. The subconscious is not concerned with the truth or falsity of your feeling. It always accepts as true that which you feel to be true. Feeling is the assent of the subconscious to the truth of that which is declared to be true. Because of this quality of the subconscious, there is nothing impossible to man. Whatever the mind of man can conceive and feel as true, the subconscious can and must objectify. Your feelings create the pattern from which your world is fashioned, and a change of feeling is a change of pattern. The subconscious never fails to express that which has been impressed upon it. The moment it receives an impression, it begins to work out the ways of its expression. It accepts the feeling impressed upon it, your feeling, as a fact existing within itself, and immediately sets out to produce in the outer or objective world the exact likeness of that feeling. The subconscious never alters the accepted beliefs of man. It outpictures them to the last detail, whether or not they are beneficial. To impress the subconscious with a desirable state, you must assume the feeling that would be yours had you already realized your wish. In defining your objective, you must be concerned only with the objective itself. The manner of expression or the difficulties involved are not to be considered by you. To think feelingly on any state impresses it on the subconscious. Therefore, if you dwell on the difficulties, barriers, or delay, the subconscious, by its very non-selective nature, accepts the feeling of difficulties and
So any discussion regarding this feeling-based prayer, this lost mode of prayer, sometimes seems a little more than academic until we can actually apply it in our lives or see it applied in our lives. It's in the late 1990s that I had the opportunity to do precisely that. When I saw the footage documenting the healing of a life-threatening condition within the body of a living woman using precisely the kinds of techniques that we're speaking about right now. For me, it was this kind of information that took this lost modality of prayer out of the realm of academics and into something that's very real that we can apply in our lives. I had the opportunity during that time to see some video footage of the healing of a 3-inch diameter bladder cancer inside the body of a woman who, by Western medical standards, had been diagnosed inoperable. She had gone, as a last resort, to a medicineless hospital in Beijing, China. It was in this medicineless hospital where they began simply by addressing the life-affirming ways that she could change how she was living her life. They taught her life-affirming ways to breathe and life-affirming ways to nourish her body, gentle movements to stimulate the energy centers in her body. And as she was doing these and strengthening her body, at one point it made sense to undergo a process. Now I'd like to share this. I'd like to describe it to you as a very potent example of how the feeling world inside of our bodies has a direct effect, in this case a very graphic effect, on the world beyond our bodies. So in the video documentation, the film shows a woman lying on in a hospital room. She's fully awake, she's fully conscious, she believes in the process that's about to happen. Before her, there is an ultrasound technician who is running an ultrasound wand over her lower abdomen that we can see on a split-screen television. And on the left-hand side of the screen, they do a snapshot, a freeze frame of an instant in time for reference, so we can see what her condition looked like in that instant in time. On the right-hand side of the screen, we are able to watch real time as 3 practitioners stand behind her, working with the energy in her body and with the feelings in their bodies. And what they do is they begin to chant a word that to them they've agreed upon, that reinforces the feeling within them that she's already healed. The chant essentially says, already healed, already done. And as they begin to have this feeling and to say these words among themselves, on the computer screen, on the television screen, we can watch in real time this cancerous tumor as it disappears in less than 3 minutes real time. It's not like time-lapse on a documentary where you see a rose unfold in 30 seconds in something that normally takes days. This literally happens in less than 3 minutes. Her body responded to the feelings of the practitioners who were trained to have the kinds of feelings that they were having. And all they were feeling was the feeling of what it feels like to be in the presence of a woman who is already healed, fully enabled, fully capacitated. They were not seeing her as a woman who was sick, and they weren't saying, bad cancer, you've got to go away. It's a very, very different way of thinking about things, and it's a very graphic example of precisely how this principle works. I had the opportunity to speak to the gentleman, Luke Chin, that actually created this film. And I asked him a question. I said, what if those three practitioners weren't there? I said, could this woman have done this? Could any of us do this on our own? And he smiled at me when I asked him the question. He said, Gregg, in all probability, she probably could have done it alone. However, there's something about us humans in that we seem to feel more empowered and stronger when we're supported by others in the things that we believe in and in the things that we choose to accomplish. So while she probably could have had this feeling and done it herself, having these three practitioners work with her was the threshold that it took for her body to respond. All they were doing was having the feeling as if she were already healed, and in less than 3 minutes her body responded. What Western physics now is beginning to tell us is that the same energy, the same field that led to the healing in this woman's body also leads to peace between nations. It's the same thing, different scale, same principle. And I've been involved in experiments where hundreds of thousands of people joined together through the World Wide Web. We were coordinated on the internet at a given hour of time, a window of time, when we were trained to feel the feelings of peace in our bodies during that time. And when we did that, statistically, what happened in events around the world, there were wartime events. There were bombings, aerial bombings in Iraq that were scheduled, that were reversed during the window of time when this prayer was happening. Crimes against people declined. Emergency hospital room visits declined. There was a computer research project at Princeton University that was able to document the field of consciousness on a global level while these prayers were going on, and they saw a little glitch, a glyph on the screen indicating that consciousness was responding to hundreds of thousands of people feeling the feeling of peace in the moment that it was occurring. And what this tells us is that the field we're working with is a measurable field. You can pick it up with equipment. It can be measured on the computer screen. This was part of the research project at Princeton University that was called the Global Consciousness Project. So the field is real. It's out there. And it responds to us in ways now that we're only beginning to understand. Even more recently, the research that's been done by the scientist Masaru Emoto regarding the relationship between human emotion, human feeling, and water drops is showing this relationship even more poignantly. What has happened is that these scientists, this particular research project, has discovered that droplets of water that make up over 70% of our world anyway and 70% of our bodies, that these droplets of water respond to human emotion, whether it is felt in the body or as it is actually written on labels that are placed onto vials of water, and the emotion of the researcher as the labels are being written and placed onto those vials. The vials are then frozen for a specific period of time, removed from the freezing process, and as they begin to thaw, they crystallize. And the crystals are the telltale sign of what is happening with the emotion. For example, they've taken water, highly polluted, highly toxic water, from some of the most polluted dams in the center of Japan. This water has never been known to crystallize. They just can't get it to crystallize. And when you look at it under a microscope, what you see, it's a very muddy, very nebulous form. There's no symmetry. There's no crystalline structure whatsoever before the emotions are in place. After the emotions are there, for example, when 500 people pray over some of this most polluted water, the before image shows the water in its toxic state. The after image of the same water shows this water beautifully formed, beautifully clear, beautifully crystalline, perfectly symmetrical, purely from the result of human emotion interacting and human feeling interacting with this field of water. Some of the other research has shown families where children and their parents have encircled a vial of water in a room that has never been found to crystallize. Again, some of the very highly polluted and toxic water. And what they do, they make a game out of it. The children, they send love to the water. They say, we love you, water. We appreciate you, water. Thank you, water, for what you bring to our world and our lives. And in that innocence, they are eliciting these genuine states of emotion. And as the research continues, it is precisely these vials of water that have received this kind of energy from the children and their families, feelings that the ancients called prayer, that the water begins to crystallize into beautiful, symmetrical, very clear forms, showing once again that there's a direct effect between what we feel in our bodies and what's happening in the world beyond our bodies. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, very poignant example of how each of us has an opportunity to participate, not to control and manipulate, but rather participate in the events of our world, the events of our lives, our families, our communities, and our bodies through the field that links all in creation.
I want you to look at something right now. Think of some major goal you want, or maybe it's one you're already working on, and you have experienced a lot of setbacks, a lot of defeats. You've experienced a lot of disappointment. Maybe you've already given up, and maybe you just need a little fire, a little encouragement to get back in the game again. Here's what I want you to look at. There are winners, there are losers, and there are people who have not discovered how to win. And all they need is some coaching. All they need is some help and assistance, just a little support. All they need is some insight or a different strategy or plan of action to make some adjustments that will open up the key to a whole new future for them, that will give them access to the unlimited power that they have within themselves. That's all that they need. So what I want you to do is think about something you want for you, that's real for you, that's important for you, that will give your life some special meaning and power. And I don't even want you to say, I can do that. I don't want you to assume that. See, 5 years ago when I started out in this area, I would not have been able to make the mental leap that I would be up to where I am right now. I don't want you to begin to just psych yourself out. No, no. I want you to be able to say something to yourself that will enable you to maintain a level of integrity with yourself. That when you say this, even when you face tremendous setbacks, it will be a benchmark to keep you in the game, to keep you moving forward and experimenting and readjusting your strategy and your plan of action, continuously looking for ways to win. So what is that something? When you got an idea you want to move on, you might not have the money, you might not have the education, you might not have the support or the resources you need. What is that something that can keep us going, that will enable us to act on our dream? What's one of those keys that will begin to help us to discover the secrets to our dream? Here's what I want you to repeat after me, please, with power and conviction. Say, it's possible. It's possible. That's all I want you to do when you look at your dream. Just say to yourself every day, it's possible. Just say that every day to yourself, it's possible. Because what does that do? See, it begins to change your belief system. See, the way in which we operate, ladies and gentlemen, it's a manifestation of what we believe, what's possible for us. Whatever you've done up to this point, all that it really is a duplication, it's a reproduction of what you believe subconsciously that you deserve and what's possible for your life. Most people operate out of their personal history, out of their memory, things they've done, things they've experienced, things they've seen, things that they have observed. What I'm suggesting that you operate out of a larger vision of yourself. I want you to see yourself doing what you want to do, experiencing what you want to experience, having what you want to have, doing what it is that gives your life some meaning and value. Operate out of your imagination, not your memory. Because whenever you look at where you want to go, I'm wanting to warn you, you will have some conversation back here after you go through the data that you've experienced in life saying you can't do it. And so what you want to begin to do is ignore that inner conversation. Well, most people, ladies and gentlemen, when something happens to them, what they do is they begin to believe that that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been, and they can't see the possibility of it being any different. Example, before April 1954, the common belief, the universal belief, because it had been tried again and again and again, and people had failed, the belief was that man was not physically capable of breaking the 4-minute barrier, that he could not run a mile in less than 4 minutes. That was the belief on the planet. It had never been done. But here's what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Roger Bannister came along, and he broke the 4-minute barrier. Now, here's what's significant about that. Since that time, up to this day, over 20,000 people have done it, including high school kids. What changed? 20,000 people. What changed? Here's what happened when they got on the track. They knew it had been done. And because they knew it had been done, there was a new belief about this barrier, about this goal that was unreachable. And those 20,000 people got in a race believing, knowing in their heart that someone had done it, that it's possible, that they could do it. And I'm saying that if you know anybody that had some goal, some dream, something they wanted to do, and they did it, then I'm saying that you know in your heart that if someone has done it, then you can do it. It's possible. And that if someone can make their dream become a reality, that it's possible that you can make your dream become reality. And so as you begin to look at where you want to go, beginning to embrace that, it's possible. I'm blessed and highly favored. I've got a lot going for me. I got some good stuff in me. And it's possible that I can bring my greatness out here in the universe. That I can do what I want to do. It's possible I can write my own book. I can have my own business. I can take the trip and travel around the world. It's possible. I can bounce back from adversity and reinvent my life. It's possible. Regardless of where I am, that things can get better.